Welcome to Kumzom Room. Today I'll be going through a lesson on respiration. So, from O-level knowledge, you may know respiration as the process by which we produce energy from glucose that we get from our food, as well as the oxygen that we breathe in from the atmosphere. So, at O-level we use the term energy loosely, but as we dive deeper into biology, we realize that energy is actually referred to as molecules called adenosine triphosphate. So in the diagram there, what you see labeled as ATP are actually energy carrier molecules that transport energy in all living organisms. So be it in plants or animals, we will be transporting energy in the form of ATP. So those are energy carrier molecules in all living organisms. So at first we have the process of glycolysis. That is the very first stage we have in the 4 stages of respiration. And so today we'll be focusing on glycolysis. So initially we use the glucose from our food in the very first stage of glycolysis. And this glucose is reacted with ATP. So we put in energy at the start of the reaction so that we can get more energy out at the end of the reaction. So it's more like an investment where you put in something at the beginning and at the end you get more than you had put in originally. So glucose is reacted with ATP to form glucose phosphate because it has gained a phosphate group. That glucose phosphate is then transformed to an isomer called fructose phosphate. So you don't see that part in the diagram there because this is a very simplified diagram of glycolysis. So fructose phosphate is an isomer, and what that means is it will contain the same number of atoms as glucose phosphate, but they'll only be arranged in a different structure. That fructose phosphate is then reacted with ATP to form fructose diphosphate, which is what you see in the diagram there. So the difference between fructose phosphate and fructose diphosphate is that fructose diphosphate consists of 2 phosphate groups, whilst fructose phosphate has only 1 phosphate group. The next stage then is whereby fructose diphosphate breaks down to form 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So the other name for this molecule is triose phosphate, and it is a very energy-rich molecule. And each molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate then reacts with ADP to form ATP. So ADP is adenosine diphosphate, and when it reacts with glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it actually obtains the phosphate group from the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and becomes adenosine triphosphate. At the end of the reaction, the final molecule that is produced is called pyruvate, and it is a molecule that is used in the later stages of respiration. But that concludes our lesson on glycolysis. So we have glucose forming glucose phosphate, which then forms fructose phosphate, which is an isomer of glucose phosphate, and then that fructose phosphate becomes fructose diphosphate, which breaks down to 2 molecules of triose phosphate, or labeled in the diagram as glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and then that molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate gives away its phosphate group to an adenosine diphosphate molecule, and then in the end we have pyruvate produced. So this process produces more energy than was put in at the beginning, and so it also produces pyruvate, which is a very energy-rich molecule that will be required in the later stages of respiration. So that is the end of our lesson on glycolysis, and you can follow us on Facebook at Kumzomrum. You can even look up our website, still Kumzomrum, and we'll be able to help you with any lesson that you may like. We have a team of dedicated professionals that are willing and able to help you with any subject that you would like to learn, be it Cambridge, ZIMSEC, IEB, whatever you like, whatever you would like to choose to learn, will be there to help you. So, goodbye.